Okay, so today I'm going to be going through the comic of ERU, which is another comic done by Comic Republic. And I have some thoughts about it already. I've already read I didn't read it into detail, but like I went through the basic structure, the art style, how they narrated the story and everything, just to see how consistent it will be compared to how it was with Tatashi. But yeah, I can tell this one seems way better in terms of the story, the character build, um, the art. Yeah, you can tell they were able to portray the intended images that they were trying to portray, which is a good thing. So yeah, I'm not gonna waste my time talking about the story too much. I'm just going to talk about how they executed it, especially on the art. So first thing I didn't like about this comic, the moment I saw it, was the fact that it's too similar to Spawn. Because honestly, I'm looking for something original to read. I'm not looking for a spin off or some sort of rip off of a Western comic that I've already read or that I'm already used to. I already know that character. So if you create another character that is almost the same as him with almost the same kind of superpowers or something, my interest will not be aroused, if I may say. So yeah, so Comic Republic here showcasing their stages in making their cover art, which is cool. You get to see the penciling here. Seems to be in very great detail. I see, so they don't really work digital that much. They do most of it traditional and then color it up. Nice. Seems cool. And then there's like half penciling, half colored. Oh, okay. Seems cool. And I like the way they use the rim lights. Seems really cool. But this is all a copy of Spawn. So I don't know if let me just search about Spawn just so you understand what I'm trying to say. Just in case you don't know who Spawn is. So this is Spawn. And let me look for a picture that portrays it better for you to see the similarities. Spawn is like some reincarnated guy who went into hell and then had a contract with the devil. And now he's using that new lifetime that he has to, like to stop evil. And if you can see from here, it's like they were trying to mimic this kind of, effect created with Spawn. See the whole cape thing? Huge cape that looks like it's torn apart, something like that. As you can see over here. What else? Where is it? Yeah, and the creepy face, and then even the marks on their costume are quite similar. Look at this. See how Spawn's marks are a bit, on the arms and then on the chest and then on the face. I feel like it's too similar. I mean, they could have done something that would give us a different impression when we see it for the first time. Because, yeah, it's too similar to Spawn. Okay, back to the whole comic. Let me just go through it. All right, so one thing I did not like about this comic was that there's too many words. I mean, I understand it's the intro of a comic, but I feel like the introduction, the narration was too much. I personally don't like reading long sentences too much. So I'd prefer to be told with the visuals and just a little bit of narration, not so much. So as you can see here, they are describing who he is, what he does, and kind of keeping us in the suspense as we try to get to know who he is, trying to create some mystery behind his past, how he became who he is, which is really cool. I love that. So over here you can see everything is dark, which is basically the theme of the comic, so it's understandable. But as you can see, there's still a lot of narration going on here and there. Even if I think if this narration was broken into smaller pieces, even if we were all still on the same page, but like half of this narration was here, the next half was like here, and then the other half was like here, and then that would have made it quite easier to read. Some people feel lazy seeing reading this whole narration because it's that big. But if they see it's like different tiny bits, they are willing to read. Because I'm more likely to read this and that than to read this. Basically, that's what I mean. So here you can see their main focus in this is about the dark with contrasting light sources, which is good for horror. So yeah, over here he pounces on the bad guys, and then I think over here I don't really like how they portrayed his landing, because we didn't get to feel that he has landed. It's like they keep his covering everything up, so you can't really tell what's going on here. At first I thought I was going to pounce on them, but then apparently he landed on the ground closer to them. Yeah. And I like the custom narration box. It all adds up to the design of the comic, which is cool. Yeah. I like the way the artist portrayed the character. Again, it still gives me Spawn vibes. So even though the drawing is nice and everything, I don't really like the character yet. I don't think I ever will. So yeah, this was like some sort of teaser or trailer for the comic itself. That's the first chapter. So I'm going to go ahead and open the second chapter. And then I'll let you understand the kind of things I saw that made me think it wasn't good enough. So yes, here's a cover photo, which with some, a lot of details going on, which is really, really nice. I like how they took their time to do their lighting. But I kind of have a problem either way. And my problem is that my main problem is with the fact that there's details everywhere. It's too detailed, I don't know where to look. Because if you blur your eyes, you can see the values are leading you to ERU here, which is great design. But it's like they focused on the details for everything in the shots so much that you kind of have to strain your eyes for a bit before you can tell this is ERU's face. And there's like his torso, and then there's like his arm. But anyway, I still like the art. But hey, looking at the size of ERU's leg, like his foot over here is too. It's not so proportional to the head, because the head length is supposed to be the length of the foot, averagely. And looking at the leg too, it's too similar to Spawn. I don't like that thing. Because, let me check again. I think Spawn has something like that on his leg. A picture showing Spawn's leg. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. So they try to change how this one looks. They try to change how this one looks a bit by making it like this. But he looks too similar to Spawn for me. Anyway, yeah, nice design for the whole, comic page. So as you can see over here, they changed the narration a bit. The way the narration is done now, it's like handwritten, which is not much of a big deal. I only don't like the fact that it's they changed the style for the narration, even though they kept the weird horror voice dialogue bubble rather. Yeah, so the art over here looks cool. It looks okay. I mean, It's not top notch, but I like the way they took their time to put in some details here and there. But my problem is with the perspective in most of the drawings, because even though the artist is really good with drawing figures, I think his problem has to do with drawing backgrounds with proper perspective and characters that fit well in that perspective. Because if you look at this, I don't really see most of the buildings that are parallel to each other moving towards the same point. Most of them are off track, because if this is leading this way, then this should actually lead to the vanishing point, but they all don't really, it's close enough, but it's not that close. Yeah, as you can see, this building is also pointing towards a different direction. It could be on a different plane, but I mean, you can tell by the proportion and how they drew the stuff on the ground that the perspective is quite off. And even for the woman standing here, for the woman standing by the car, you can tell the car looks quite tall. Her torso looks too tall. I mean, too long. It's kind of creepy. But I mean, it works. It's not always about the art, it's mainly about the story and how you arrange the whole elements to present it out. So, yeah, this is ERU. Okay. And I feel like even the story, they copied too much of Spawn. So, I mean, like, when you create a character like this, when you create a story like this, and then you call it an African comic, but then everything about it is a direct ripoff of another comic that is well known in the Western world, I don't see how original this is for you to be able to call it an African comic. Because even though you've tailored it for it to have African, um, what's it called? African cultural backgrounds, like the name, as in the spirit of fear, those kind of stuff. It doesn't really change the backbone of the whole story, because we still see the same elements on him, how he dresses and everything. You could have given him a different kind of costume, because African characters usually have a way they look when it comes to spiritual matters. And Spawn was designed to look like that comic book character feel where they seem to be in tights. But well, I'm not the one to decide how they design the characters, but trust me, if you do it this way, it's gonna look just like whatever you try to draw inspiration from. So I like the action scenes. I like the way they merged some panels together, and then I like how they created different kinds of weapons. But this is also similar to how Spawn uses his weapons, because his cape can actually transform into a motorcycle for him to ride. Um, yeah, and weapons can grow from his arms and other stuff like that. And I feel like it's too similar. It's too similar. And in a way, the art is kind of, preventing you from seeing the details. I mean, it's preventing you from seeing the important elements, because sometimes the details are all over the place. I don't know where to look at. I think that's a problem for the whole company themselves, not just individual artists, because whoever directed this should have thought about that. But this is definitely way better than Tatashi's comic. Yeah. Okay, so there's like an advert for Avenue, whatever. So I don't know if you have noticed, but the coloring just changed all of a sudden. The coloring is not consistent. From here, the colors look so saturated, and then right after the Avanome advert, everything looks dull. And then it looks even more detailed than before. I don't know if you see what I'm saying. The inconsistency. Okay, so I think I understand why they use this narration now. I think this narration is more like talking about him as human. And then this is more like about the spirit in him that's making him, this scary, hideous guy. So as you can see, all the colors are dimmed out, which makes it less consistent. I don't really like that, but I like their details. I like their way of portraying the characters. Anyway, yes. So I'm going to move on to the next chapter so you get to see the consistency that I was talking about. All right. So now that I have chapter 3 here, let's see what we've got in there. Okay, so first let me talk about the cover page. This looks cool. Now we are kind of introduced to who is behind the whole, costume and everything. It's not like a costume, it's more like a transformation. But we get to know the human being behind the whole thing. And I can see they brought this image here. This kind of okay. So this is literally kind of like a copy of Death Notes. What's his name? Ryuk from Death Notes, the god of death. And it's about the fact that God of Death likes eating apples. Yeah, this kind of like what's it called? A small inspiration they drew from that, which makes it kind of cool. It gives you an idea of the fact that he enjoys what he does in some way. So yeah, let's keep going through. So as you can see, the narration has changed again. I don't know if they were trying to create a different kind of, message through the narration changing and everything, but I don't know why they have to make it less consistent. Because the more consistent it is, the more the reader feels connected to it. Because if you see a more consistent artwork, wherever you see it, it's gonna stand out. That's the reason why I keep talking about the consistency. So yeah, I like the way they are pointing the shots at him. I like the way he blurs. They blurred out the background, the guy in the background, because they want you to look at the skeleton. So the bad guy actually transformed and attacked, and then he got burnt and turned into this burnt skeleton. But this kind of gives you an idea of him coming back and then, beating the shit out of the guy. So yes, like I said, basically he came back. But look at this. As you can see over here, it's high contrast and the colors are, highly saturated. But when you come here, it's low contrast, low saturation. I don't know why they do that though, but so as you can see, he comes back from, the skeletal form and then attacks him. But I can't really tell what is going on here unless maybe I read, but it's hard to see exactly what is going on here. Either way, it's hard to tell because you can't really see the posture he's in. And I guess maybe that doesn't matter, but so I like how they're able to capture the mood. That's top notch. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to hate on them, but I mean, like I said, this is something I like about what they're doing. I like how moody the whole thing looks. Again, about a perspective thing. I mean, it's not too wrong. It's not so wrong, but when the moment you see it, you feel some lack of proportion amongst the objects in the perspective. Anyway, so you can see the narration has changed again. I understand this is ERU talking now, so like the narration should go back to how it looks, but it's a bit different as you can see. Okay, so we're back to the main character's life. And yes, I was right. I was right about the artist's perspective. I think the artist has even changed a little bit. But like, yes, I was talking about the perspective. See how these buildings seem to be pointing upward, and some buildings seem to be pointing just forward this way, but then the horizon is all the way to the top. Like, it doesn't really make sense. It makes the road look like it's vertical. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. It's like the cars are driving vertically to the top. But most of the buildings seem to be tilted so weirdly. It's like we can see the top of the buildings too much because this is almost eye level, but they're making us see everything on top of the buildings too much. This one is quite okay, but this seems off, and it's not even in perspective. I think that's the main problem. See how this building is not in perspective. Seems to be autographic a bit. It makes the whole picture look weird. And now the narration has changed again. I understand this is like the main character's narration. So you can see he's like they're using his glasses as the narration boundaries, which is cool. So it's like they're in a public transportation, and then yeah, I know how uncomfortable public transportation can be. As you can see, the art style has changed totally. It seems the artist also changed because the quality looks lower now. I was expecting it to increase because the more you work on a specific comic, the more you get to finalize how you want the comic to keep going. But this seems to be deteriorating a bit. The coloring and everything seems to be less quality now. It's like they were running on a lower budget now. So that's him, and then yeah. So this man was trying to head the girl, probably rape her or something, and then ERU comes in and then sucks the man into the underworld, and ERU comes back for the girl. Because the girl was, so scared, she fell asleep on his arms, and he didn't even notice until yeah. I like how they were able to tell how they made it a sudden change in his reaction. So like she's crying and all of a sudden she's asleep. And he's like, eh? I like the mood. So yeah, this means he's actually a good guy. He's trying to do the right thing. Not necessarily like just killing people. So yeah, I like Eru so far. I just hate the fact that it looks like a rip-off of Spawn. I like how they portray the whole thing. Seems cool. But I just okay, so there was something I realized. The art style drastically became bad. I think I don't know it's from this part, but I'll talk about that later. For now, let me talk about this. This art, the cover art looks really awesome. I think this was my favorite amongst all the other cover arts. So yes, like I was saying about the art, they focus so much on detail that the fundamentals always bring them out as bad art. Because don't get me wrong, this is nice. The colors and everything are nice. But if you look at the buildings, you can tell some of them are in perspective, some of them are not. And it's like the details are kind of covering it up. But when you see a building pointing towards the direction, meaning the vanishing point for this parallel direction is over here. If you see this pointing that way, it means it's not straight. And you look at the top of this, it's like they're showing the top of this part of the building too much. And that makes it look too fake because according to this perspective line, we are not supposed to be seeing the whole top too much like this. I you might not be able to understand this if you don't really understand perspective that much. So don't bother. And yeah, like I was saying, the details are too much. Everywhere there's like, look at the glass. It's like they wanted to show too much details on the glass that it doesn't even look like glass anymore. It looks like rubber. Although the characters look so, good, well designed and art drawn, it's still weird because the design structure made everything too detailed. Even photographs kind of blur certain things out. So yes, I do see a little bit of improvement in this picture. This one looks a little normal. Yeah, it's more acceptable. I think the quality in the art has come back to normal, which is a good thing. But the fact that it went off and came back means there's less consistency. So yes, my issue with the perspective has come back again. Look at this. This is so bad. This is so bad. Let me zoom in for you. So as you can see, this these chairs are moving towards this direction. All right. And if you look at this, they don't seem to be moving towards the same direction. Because this seems too high to be a window if these are the chairs. Again, if you're not so used to perspective, you don't understand what I'm trying to say. But the room looks too long, too tall. And the windows look too tall. The people look too short. They look too small. I like the way they are giving us, a different point of view, like we are seeing from the board's point of view. Wait, so that's it? Okay, that's the end of the chapter. So yeah, I think Africa has a big problem with the way they organize stuff. I'm not blaming Comic Republic for this, but I feel like Africa doesn't make room for actual, I won't say talented, skillful artists or skilled artists to do their job or to find good jobs like this. Because being a comic artist pays well if you're with a bright company. And from what I've seen, the artists that work on the Comic Republic comics, even though they are good, you can still see the fundamentals being broken. So like it's kind of a turn off for me. I really like this shot. This shot gives you some sort of intimidation feel. I like the way they brought it from a lower angle to make him look superior. Yes, perspective once again. Look at this. It's like they're trying to create awesome perspectives, but they don't know how to go about it. Because look at this. If this window is facing this way, why is this facing that way? Because if anything, these are supposed to be convergent, but the window lines are all pointed towards their own direction. And it's making the building look like it's not a 90-degree wall that we are seeing over here. It makes it look like it's like 120 degrees. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So yes, another problem with consistency. So over here you can tell that character, the art style has changed again because they were copying directly from pictures now. I can tell because I have experience in drawing. Most people can't really tell. But looking at this, it's actually a picture that has been painted over, or they painted directly trying to replicate an exact picture. So you can see this one was drawn from scratch, but this one wasn't. So you can see some details that are not supposed to be brought into it if it was drawn as a comic. Just like this one too. It's actually a picture that has been, edited and painted over. Or that it was traced. Yeah. This one too. So over here you can tell the artist has changed again. And this is so inconsistent. So over here, I think the main problem was the fact that they were making it look less of an art. Well, it's still an art, but it's like they're copying too much. So much that it's making the whole thing look weird. And over here, I think the car looks too narrow. should have been a bit wider, like over here. I don't know if they squeezed the picture too much. Okay, so that's it for this chapter. So as we move on, you realize that the art style has reduced. Like the quality of the art is all, off. So I like the cover art. I think the cover art, they've been able to stay consistent so far. Big ups to them. So now look at this. You see there's like a picture that they've traced from, and it's starting to look too weird. But I like this. Advert. Okay, so you see how the details are all over the place? I mean, this is a nice picture. The perspective looks correct. But the details on the fur or the hair on the clothes, it's a lot. But basically, the art style has changed. And I don't know if you guys will feel the same way when you read this, but whenever I read ERU, I didn't feel like reading more, but I felt like looking at the art because the art is really interesting. I'm not gonna lie, it's really cool, but honestly, the text's all over the place. There's too much text. There's too much narrations that prevents you from enjoying the whole comic. As you can see, they've changed the narration altogether, and now it's like most of the narrations are not even in bounding boxes. I don't know if they have a specific reason for that, but again, with the perspective issues, I know this is like on a higher ground, like a mountain. But if you look at this, every building is built to stand. So it's definitely going to conform to gravity. So every building at the top is going to be flat in a sense that once it's built, it's going to, point a certain direction. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but if you look at these structures on top of the mountain, since we are below it, we are supposed to see them a bit like that, more angular. It's like this looks too close to eye level for me, but the horizon seems to be here, according to their drawing over here. Now, this is where I realized the whole thing was going to go south. Now, I know I didn't read everything, but I didn't read that because I lost interest in reading the whole thing. It was all over the place for me, especially with the details. But I like the art because the lighting and everything was on point, just that the details were too much. So back to ERU, a whole new cover. This cover looks less low budget compared to the other ones. So as you can see, you can tell the pictures are a bit traced, but the style they used to trace is cool. Now, see what I was saying? Like everything looks different now. The art style looks like they used watercolor, which isn't really a bad thing, but it's like it's a whole different style now that we are not used to. So we don't get to feel the characters that much. I know you're trying to create a moody theme, but it makes the whole comic look weird. It's like we're not reading the same comic we read last time. And like I was saying, using of pictures again. So they traced the picture and then they painted it directly from the reference. So it doesn't look like a comic anymore. This is like someone's art gallery and they've put text over it. I don't like that. I know lots of comic artists don't like that because this is so off. This is like someone's portrait study that he was doing and then they decided to use it for the comic. This is so unprofessional for a comic. And there it ends. Nothing so interesting. Like, some may say that I have to sit down and read it in order to enjoy it. But when it comes to the art of making comics or selling something, marketing something, the person doesn't have to go into it before feeling like going into it. You need to make your first impressions sell out perfectly. And this didn't, which is why I didn't want to read. Okay, so I like this cover photo. Again, the art style has changed again. So inconsistent. Even the narration has also changed. Maybe it's because of the story they're talking about now, but it looks so different now. And you can tell it was traced from pictures. So now it's like they're not really drawing, they're not really having artists that can draw. They have artists that can edit pictures for it to look like it was drawn. But since I'm experienced in this kind of stuff, I can see through it all. All of this was traced. Everything. So now the comic looks so different. It's like we didn't sign up for this shit. Something like that. So what they marketed it with for us to read in the beginning has now been changed. So now I'm here with the last episode, or the last chapter. And this might piss you off. First of all, I like the cover photo. It's cool. Intimidating. Threatening. I like this too. Now we go on into the comic. The art style is all different now. Totally different now. I mean, this style looks cool, but it's totally different. Whoever has been trying to keep up with the story wouldn't like seeing different stuff like this. The more inconsistent the art style is, the harder it will be for the readers to know the differences or the similarities, or like we'll be able to recognize some of the characters. So as you can see, everything looks different now. The coloring looks different. The line art looks different. It looks more digital. And look at this. Come on. They could have done better. Look at this kind of art. Started so well. And then now it's like they're just rushing to finish things up and let it go. So yeah, Comic Republic seems to be dying out. I don't know if they are still in action, but everything shows that they're dying out. Because this is not a comic I would like to read. If I see a comic like this on the shelf, I'm not reading. Even they sell them, they even sold themselves out. You never see a cover photo that looks like it has this kind of quality. None. I mean, look at the cover photo they use for this. They're trying to get you to read it. And so they are showing you the best that they have. But you look through the comic and then everything is so off. This is fucked up. It is. So yeah, that's it for ERU. ERU started off so nice. Started really nicely. So you see how you might not even be able to recognize that it's the same comic. See how different the style looks. Let me do a side-by-side comparison for you to see. And then chapter 9. So let me put this here. And then put this here. Now look at how different it looks. I mean, the narration and everything was able to maintain the vibe. Also the dark tones and stuff. But look at the art style. So off. Where did all that detail from this side go? Let me open this one instead. Yes, where did all this detail go? Where did it all go? Where did it all go? So yeah, Eru has a better storytelling structure than uh what's it called? Tatashi. No doubt about that. But it's so inconsistent, so all over the place with details. Even though the artist is good, it looks too much. Proportions, perspectives are off, and most of the stuff just don't add up. So yeah, I didn't really enjoy going through this comic because it wasn't reader welcoming. It wasn't reader friendly. It's just, for someone like me who is into art, it just got me staring at the artworks, not the story. So this comic, like I said, was a rip-off of Spawn, and they couldn't really tell the story in a perfect way with the art. I'm trying my best to not speak against the way they went about it, but I just can't see anything nice about it so far. It's like they just wanted to make a character like Spawn. So it's like we're there and they're like, why don't we create a character like Spawn? Because our comic universe would actually do really nice if we have a Spawn character. So let's just create someone like that. So we look for the scary demonic stuff from our culture, and then we try to turn it into a character like Spawn. And instead of trying to create a character like Spawn, they create a ripoff of Spawn. And that sucks. Because look at the design on Spawn's chest. That is literally ERU. So there's nothing special about it. Nothing special. Alright, so before you comment that I'm being a hater or like I'm just talking trash about random people's comics and that what can I do, what have I done so far that I'm, you know, being so loud about all of this. I want you to go and read it for yourself and see if you're able to read through it all or if you keep reading it consistently because all of the pages are going to be there, all of the chapters are going to be there. Try and see if you're going to enjoy reading it. You just try it. Because I know a lot of people, a lot of you guys watching these kind of videos read a lot of manga. So read this and see if you get a similar effect the way you are kind of motivated to read more. You just try it out and see. And if you're very, very sensitive to what you see, the view, the visuals, you're definitely not going to like the fact that the art style is not consistent. Don't forget to leave a like and comment what you think about this review and let me know what you think about the comic after reading it. After reading it, I'm serious about that part. I need valid opinions. So go read it from their website. It's the same website. I'm definitely going to link it down in the description. So yeah, let me know what you think and I'll get back to you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.